何も怖くなんてないんだ This is a place to try そして僕らきっと辛いだってを決して離さないんで明日へかける Let's sing loudly We are the one for the future
Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Naruto Shippuden, episode 371. And you might notice that I haven't put up a review for this series in a while, and that's because I just decided that I'm reviewing too many things, and I just decided that when it comes to Shippuden, I'll just review it whenever I feel like it, pretty much. Whenever I have something to say about the episode, then I'll review it. But if I just don't feel like saying, if I just don't feel like reviewing it, I'm not going to review it, which is what I'm doing with Stardust Crusaders right now. But anyway, let me just get into this review, because the good stuff is at the end. Alright, the good stuff is at the end. But as for the beginning of this episode, Obito and Madara, they're attacking everyone, and you know, Naruto's protecting everyone by manipulating the chakra cloaks, you know, the Nine Tails cloaks and everything that's around everyone. Madara at one point senses Hashirama's chakra, so he's gonna be prepared when the Hokages come. Obito talked a little bit with Naruto. You know, this is stuff that's not really worth going into detail in. The Ten Tails ends up using Cataclysm. Alright. And you know, there's earthquakes, there's lightning, there are typhoons, there's just like crap happening all over the place. It's just craziness and chaos. Alright. And after that, the Ten Tails senses the chakra of most of the tailed beasts in Naruto. Most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. And he also senses chakra of the Sage of the Six Paths, which was interesting. And its response to that was to form a hand sign, like it was about to use it like a sage jutsu or something like that. Alright. But after Cataclysm, Naruto is kind of wiped out and exhausted and stuff, so the cloaks around everyone disappear. And since it's clear that Naruto is the target here, everyone decides to step up or step forward and defend him. You know, Sakura comes in, heals him, but you know what people say, Sakura is useless, so I guess I was seeing things when she was healing Naruto. I guess I was just seeing things, because if she's useless, there's no way she would be doing something useful here, but you know, whatever. Anyway, at one point, Kakashi brought Obito into his Kamui dimension. Alright. Oh boy, here we go. And Obito pointed out, you know, that Kakashi had multiple opportunities to kill him and just couldn't do it. You know, like the one time when Kakashi found out how Obito's jutsu worked, and he got inside his dimension, and instead of stabbing him with a kunai or stabbing him with Chidori or lightning blade, he just decided to punch him in the gut, which was incredibly stupid. Incredibly stupid. So Obito brought that up. So I don't remember if I mentioned that back during the episode where that happened. I don't remember if I said to remember that scene, because usually I say to remember a scene if I have knowledge that it's going to be relevant later. So I would assume I said to remember that scene, but maybe I didn't. It was a while ago, you know. As a matter of fact, I think it was before the filler. Yeah, so that it really was a while ago. Alright, well, anyway, Kakashi ends up trying to talk no jutsu Obito. Alright. And Obito just laughs in his face, which is pretty funny. He just laughs in his face. Yeah, that was funny. And then he says to Kakashi, along with all the haters, that he's not doing any of this for Kakashi, and he's not doing any of this for Rin. Okay, his goal, his motivation does not involve them. Alright, or it doesn't directly involve them. Okay. And I know all the haters are going to roll their eyes and say, oh, here we go again. Some other dude is going to try and defend Obito, blah, blah, blah. All right, most people are, when they try to defend Obito, just don't make any sense. They really don't. Trust me, I trust me, all right. But I have actual proof from this episode to bring up. Though before I bring that up, I have to get to what caused that proof to come up in the first place, and that was Obito putting Kakashi in the Genjutsu. Okay, because he does a couple things with that. All right. The first one is that Kakashi, he's sitting there wasting chakra with this Chidori lightning blade, whatever, Chidori. I'm calling it Chidori. He's sitting there wasting chakra with this Chidori activated for like 20 freaking minutes. All right, and Obito just walks into it and gets this hole in his chest. Okay, which it wasn't actually a hole in his chest. Some people, I remember when this chapter came out in the manga, some people were talking about Senju DNA and crap. No, no, if you look in the manga, there's a clear panel that is literally devoted to Obito Sharingan. You know what that means? It's Genjutsu. That's what that means. Alright, so it's not Senju DNA, it's not Hashirama cells. First of all, that's the wrong side of his body anyway. Alright, it was the right side of his body that was crushed, and his heart is on the left side. But, you know, that's logic. You know, I'm like the only person who uses it, but whatever. Genjutsu. He uses a Genjutsu on Kakashi, and he walks right into the Chidori. Okay, and he has that scene where he says, you know, I've got a hole in my chest and all that. Yeah, all right. And he reveals that Rin essentially did the same thing, which is deliberately walk into Kakashi's Chidori. All right. And he also reveals that Rin had become the Jinchuriki for Isobu, the three tails, all right, the three-tailed turtle thing, you know, from that one filler arc with Guren, the crystal style user, which is like probably the best filler arc Shippuden has ever, not just Naruto in general, really. That's like that's like one of the few filler arcs in the entire Naruto franchise I actually don't hate. So I actually enjoyed that one. That's one I'd actually watch again if I was bored, like really bored. But that's, you know, that's better than what I'd say for most other Naruto filler, you know. So that's still pretty good. Anyway, they added in. Speaking of filler, they added in filler here. I'm pretty sure it was filler because I don't remember it in the manga. They actually went in, they actually showed Kakashi going through the process of rescuing Rin after she was captured. Right? I'm pretty sure that didn't happen in the manga. Right? I didn't go through the trouble of looking it up because I really don't care that much, but I'm pretty sure that's filler. Right? And that they just added that in. All right. But there's no point getting into too much detail about it just because it's, you know, I just don't feel like it. You know, I like the fact that they put that in just because, you know, I'd rather have that than, you know, a full episode that is complete filler that has nothing to do with anything going on. All right, so I like the fact that they put that in there, but I just don't feel like talking about it really. Mostly because I want to hurry up and get to this evidence that I was hyping up like a couple minutes ago. So the point with all this is that Rin let herself, emphasis on let herself, die so that the three tails wouldn't go rampaging in the village, okay, in the Hidden Leaf village, you know. And the reason I say to emphasize the word let is because of Obito's infamous line where he says you let Rin die, all right, because what he was actually referring to was the fact that Kakashi allowed her to kill herself, because at that point he already knew the story. So when he says Kakashi let Rin die, he was referring to the fact that she wanted to die and he let it happen. All right, that's so, you know, I'm sure most people didn't actually take it that way when they first heard the line, because who would? When I first heard that line, I assumed that it was, you know, Obito was alive because Rin died. So I was assuming, you know, that's what he says, right? He says the reason I'm alive is irrelevant. However, if I had to give a reason why, it's because you let Rin die. So essentially, he's saying he's alive because Rin is dead. All right, and the first thing that came to mind was Gaara and Lady Chiyo. So I thought, you know, maybe Rin used some type of reanimation jutsu to bring Obito back or something like that, and Kakashi didn't know. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense, but it makes a lot more sense than what most people were saying after that. So, you know, again, logic. But I'm one of the few people who uses it. But anyway, that's what Obito was really talking about with that line where he says, you let Rin die. It was Rin wanted to die and Kakashi allowed her to kill herself, essentially. Assisted suicide, that's really what it was, assisted suicide. Um, but anyway, he goes on to say that Rin was never meant to die. And the reason he says this is because the only reason her death happened was because of the flaws of the world, the flaws of the ninja world. Okay, the flaws of the world just cause chaos. And well, think of anything Danzo would do. Okay, Danzo is the perfect example of what Obito was talking about. All right, was it the system of shinobi, village, and the shinobi themselves? All right, Danzo is the perfect example of this because those three things are the things that create the flaws of the ninja world and the things that allow them to stick around. All right, they're the reasons why the flaws of the ninja world cannot be eliminated simply by what Jiraiya wants to do, or Minato, or Hashirama, or Naruto. That's what Nagato had been saying. That's what Nagato had been saying. That's what Obito has been saying. That's what Madara has been saying. That's what all the anti-heroes say, because in reality, Naruto doesn't have many real villains at all, except for Orochimaru, because all the other villains have legitimate reasons for what they're doing. What they're doing is evil, but they have good intentions behind it. It's like what did Machiavelli say? The ends justify the means. All right, so they're actually anti-heroes. All right, but I completely forgot what I was saying. Anyway, it's something about like Obito, Madara, and Nagato, and how, yeah, each of them was talking about the flaws of the ninja world and how, the shinobi system, village, and how these things are always going to be around, therefore the flaws are always going to be around. Therefore you have to try and use force in order to eliminate the flaws of the ninja world. Okay? And the flaws of the ninja world should not exist. They just shouldn't exist. That's why they're flaws. They're called flaws because they should not exist. All right. And since the flaws of the ninja world should not exist, the flaws of the world are what caused the war that killed Rin. Therefore, Rin was never meant to die then, because the thing that killed her never should exist in the first place. And so that's what Obito is getting at here. The flaws of the ninja world should not exist, and it was what was caused by those flaws that ended up killing Rin. Therefore, since those flaws should not exist, Rin was never meant to die during that war, because the war never should have been going on in the first place. Right? So she was meant to live for much longer than that. I know most people took that to mean like, oh, Obito thinks that Rin is immortal, but that makes no freaking sense. I don't know how anyone could believe that. You know it makes no sense, so why would you just assume that it's true anyway? Like that makes no that I just don't understand how people fail to use logic. All right, some people actually thought that Obito thought that Rin was immortal. What? What? That makes no freaking sense. Oh man. Well, yeah, I explained that. That's what Obito means by this. Okay. Rin was never meant to die because the war that killed her was never supposed to happen, because it was caused by flaws that should not exist in the first place. Alright? And Obito's goal was to eliminate these flaws of the ninja world, just like Nagato, just like Madara, just like Jiraiya, just like Minato, just like Jiraiya. Did I say Jiraiya already? Whatever. Just like Naruto, just like Kakashi, uh, Hashirama. I'm like repeating names now, I think. Just a ton of people in the series, okay? So many people in this series have this goal, yet people act like it's strange for Obito to have it too. It's like they're thinking, there's no way his goal can be the recurring goal of the series. There's no way. That just makes too much sense. And instead his goal was to see a girl again, which is funny because that's what brings me to my proof. Okay, people have been arguing that Obito is using Infinite Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu, in order to see Rin again. Well, guess what Obito did in this episode? He used genjutsu to create Rin, and he did it on a whim. All right, he did it on a whim. He did it to try and talk no Jutsu Kakashi. All right, so there you have it. People say Obito's reason for using Infinite Tsukuyomi is to see Rin again, but that can't be true if he can do that on a whim whenever he feels like it. All right, if he can see Rin again whenever he wants, then why would he go through all this trouble in order to do what he can already do? That just doesn't make sense. So obviously he can't be using Infinite Tsukuyomi to see Rin again. All right, again, I use logic, okay? Haters are going to hate, they're going to be biased, they're going to go against the facts, and they're going to go against logic, okay? But the facts are just what I said. Alright, Obito used Genjutsu in this episode to create Rin. Therefore, he can create Rin without infinite Tsukuyomi. He does not need to go through all this trouble to see Rin again because he can do that whenever he freaking wants to. Okay, like it's like so what like, you see what I mean? Hopefully you do because it's very difficult to not see what I mean. All right, like I just don't understand the logic of haters. I really don't. All right, I really don't. I guess it's possible for some people to say that he doesn't just want to see her, which would be incredibly stupid. Because first of all, there's like barely anything in the manga to suggest that Obito is doing this to see Rin again. Especially in this, since in this episode, he literally came out and said, "I'm not doing it for Rin. I'm doing it for the Falls of the Ninja World," which is the recurring goal of the series. Therefore, it makes complete and total sense. So for people to go against logic in two ways in order to say that Obito is doing this to see Rin again just doesn't make any sense. Um, and like I was saying, maybe they believe that Obito wants to do more than just see her, which would not make sense because there's nothing in the manga to suggest that. But even so, it doesn't really matter because he can do that too. Remember when Itachi used Genjutsu on Kakashi back in part 1? Back when he and Kisame invaded the village? And Itachi was stabbing Kakashi for days. You know, like if Obito, so it's no one's going to try and use the argument. Well, I'm sure they will, but you know, no one should be able to use the argument that regular Genjutsu isn't real enough because it is. Okay, that's why Itachi could stab Kakashi for 3 days straight because it is real. All right, like it's not real to everyone else, but it's real to the person inside the Genjutsu, and that's all that Obito and Madara care about. That's why they're trying to cast a Genjutsu on everybody, so that becomes the new reality, because there will be no one to say otherwise. Okay, so you don't need infinite Tsukuyomi. You just need a regular Genji. All Obito needs to do is look in a mirror, and then boom. All right. Since he didn't do that, that means he's not doing any of this to see Rin get or do anything else with her. That is just common sense. It's common sense. It's basic logic, and anyone who goes against that is obviously not willing to use logic. They're obviously biased, and they're probably haters because everything I said just now makes perfect sense. All right. Obito just proved in this episode that he can create Rin whenever he wants to. Fact. Fact. Obito can create Rin using Genjutsu whenever he wants to. Genjutsu has been shown to have real effects in terms of your senses. Alright? Fact. Obito can use Genjutsu on himself. Fact. If that wasn't true, then I guess he can't be using Infinite Tsukuyomi to see Rin again, because Infinite Tsukuyomi is a Genjutsu. So you have to believe that Obito can use Genjutsu on himself, or else your own arguments don't work. Alright, so it's... if you use logic, it just doesn't make sense for Obito to be doing this for Rin. But again, like I said, I use logic, and most people don't use logic when it comes to Obito, so... Hey, but, that's it. I'm kind of just ranting now and rambling on, repeating the same thing over and over again. The rest of the episode is just the Ten Tails transforming into Vile Bloom, and that's really it. So I guess for the rating for this episode, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Not quite enough there for me to call it a good episode, but it's still, you know, a pretty cool episode with, with all the stuff that happened and all the developments. Obviously, story progression here. Some hints for the future with the whole Ten Tails doing the Ten Tails molding chakra in response to seeing the chakra of Naruto. Not seeing its chakra, but like sensing its chakra. Because with Sage mode, you can sense chakra, you know, so it can use Sage. That's why it's going like this. You know, that's what Hashirama does too. You know, it's So there are hints there. I don't want to say too much, but I kind of am. Yeah, the point is that stuff happened. Stuff happened. Okay, so I'll give the episode a 7.5 out of 10, and that's that, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.